Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on whichever part of the world you're joining from. We have actually people joining from three time zones on this particular call. We have Anup, who is with me in India. We have Sergey, who is joining from Paris. And we have Kshitij, who's joining from the US. Which city are you in, Kshitij? Sergey
I'm in
is
Cambridge.
joining from Paris. And we have Kshitij. Okay, once again, I can hear myself. Sorry, me being able to hear myself is a good sign, which means that we're live. Yeah, Kshitij, sorry, you're in which city?
I'm in Cambridge.
Oh, nice. That's basically in MIT, right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So let's start off with a quick introduction, like a very short and crisp thing, and then we'll jump right into it without much of a like chit chat that people don't really love. So I'll drop a quick introduction of Sergey, and then maybe Anup, you can introduce Kshitij because it's been all praises for him. Let me try to do a good job here. So around introducing Sergey, Sergey, you can add anything if I miss something. So Sergey is my colleague from Pathway. He is a three-time IOI medalist. The last medal was a gold medal. He has also won a few other competitions, been in top 10. The last one I remember was probably uh, the last competition was Google, like the hash code that he participated in,
Mhm.
where you,
Yes.
when you were in top 10. And Sergey was also associated with Code Chef as a problem setter for Code Chef Snackdown Finals. And professionally, as you know, he, like we were just discussing before this particular session, he did his internship at Microsoft in the US. Then he worked with Yandex, which is the Google of Russia. And currently he is with Pathway, which is the world's fastest data processing framework, and also has a really strong use case around live AI. Sergey, is this the right introduction for you, or did I miss something?
Yeah, yeah. It's very nice interaction. I don't know what to add because you did a very good job at retelling my life during the last 10 years.
Oh, nice. I'm quite sure there are anecdotes which are missed, which we'll try to touch by the questions, by the way. Anup, why don't you drop an introduction of Kshitij for those who do not know him yet? I think he's quite a celebrity right now in India, but for those who do not know him, Anup, you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry, yeah. So I'm saying even I don't think I know Kshitij enough. For me, one of the reasons why I joined this podcast and accepted your invitation is because he is coming on the show, and I have never met him, and I wanted to know a lot more about him. I had pinged him once, and probably he is in the middle of moving to US and then settling down there, so we didn't get to interact at all. This is more of a fanboy moment for me. So I know Kshitij as somebody who has won like two gold medals at IOI from India, and this is extremely it's non-trivial because India has won three gold medals till date. For those who do not know, so IOI is a competition at the school level, which is like the Olympiads of programming and informatics, and it has been happening for last 35 years. And in 35 years, before Kshitij got the first gold medal, India cumulatively had won like just one gold medal, and that was way back in 2014. And then I was in the out of competitive programming scene for the last 3 years after I left Code Chef. And then this year I got to know. Last year I did not keep a tab of what was happening, and this year when I followed ICPC, when I got into ICPC again, and then I was getting back on figuring out what ICP who is doing what, and then I get to know IY is happening, and then oh, Kshitij has won a gold medal from India, and then I, oh no, it's not the first time, he has done it, like this is the second time. So, so yeah, I think it's best if Kshitij can tell us a little bit more about that rather than. I don't know anything about Kshitij apart from the fact that he has won two gold medals for India, which is like a huge feat. It is like any other one of the top feats in any sporting event from the country. If you look at any sporting event, for that. Whatever we have done in Olympics, it compares there. It's like right there, at least from an Indian perspective. Yeah, and right now he's studying at MIT. That's all I know. So Kshitij, why don't you uh, fill in the blanks? There are a lot of blanks there. Anything that you would like the audience to know about you?
So, hello, I am Kshitij. I'm studying CS and Math at MIT right now, and I've been involved in comparative programming for a very long time. And I accepted the invite to this podcast so that I could share my experience. in my comparative programming journey so far.
Interesting.
Awesome.
One very quick question, by the way. Um, so, like, you're the first guy to win two consecutive gold medals from India. What do you think you did differently that others are not doing?
I think I've practiced a lot, and I
Okay.
like, yeah, I focused a lot for IOI. Yeah,
And like, at what age did you start?
I started when I was 13, like when I was in eighth grade, basically.
And how did you
Eighth.
know that there is something called programming in eighth grade and there is something called competitive programming?
How I first found out about programming was through robotics. So I used to make manual stuff, but I wanted to automate it. So I came across this microcontroller called Arduino, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I like got introduced to programming in the first place. As for comparative programming, it was actually through CodeChef.
Mm-hmm.
So I came across this website called CodeChef. I was searching for programming stuff on the internet, and there was a 10-day long contest going on. So I decided to like take part in that. So I really liked the problems there, and like they seemed very interesting and hard. So I decided to continue with it.
This makes me
Interesting.
extremely curious to know how many problems did you solve in that? I'm sorry, how many problems did you solve in your first long challenge?
I think three.
Wow, okay. And this without any kind of a competitive programming experience before that.
Yeah, I didn't. I knew some basic programming, and I think the initial problems are just like math logic. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I can solve them.
Okay.
But there
And
were 10 plus problems, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. There were 10 problems. Yeah. Yeah, Mudit.
so, okay, like, when did you start your programming journey, which is very different? And I have my like next question around this itself. Maybe Anup can pick this one, but
No, no,
one
before
very
that, before we go on to our shortlisted questions, I have so many other questions which are coming in right now. Sorry,
okay,
Mudit,
okay,
to
okay.
hijack this, but I do want to know from Sergey. Let Sergey answer your question, and I have a question for him too.
Mm. For
Yeah. So when did you
me,
start programming? Yeah. Yeah.
around 12 years old. And for me, I did not do any Mindstorms or Arduino, but there was other thing that in a small town when I lived, there was a small club of high schoolers who do competitive programming. And it was a very good place to find friends. And since we all were very competitive, each of us wanted to perform better than the rest, to say that, hey, I'm the winner, I'm the best. It constantly motivated us and pushed us to do more and more perfection around our competitive programming skills. And within this inner competition, we had some good results,
So
I think.
you're saying at 12-year-old, you had a community of friends who were competitive about competitive programming, and this was in a small town in a country, your country, like you come from Belarus.
There is still this community because we have some enthusiasts, and there is a small club which is called the Club of Young Firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, programming has nothing with fighting with fire, but still. And there is in this big club, there is just two little rooms full of computers where
Mm-hmm.
there are classes in programming. So I was just lucky to be in the place where there is this little community with this little room full of computers where we were able to meet and to discuss something and to do something productive like
That's
solving
fascinating to know.
problems.
That's very fascinating. Yeah. So is this
This is very
only
different.
sorry, Mudit, yeah.
Good, good, good. I'm just curious. Like this, the same would not have been the culture for Kshitij, right? Probably Kshitij, you would have been one of the, or you did have something equivalent of the firefighters club, who was keen on programming.
Actually, I'm not aware of any offline comparative programming club as such. In the beginning, I was just doing things on my own, and later, like I got to meet people online, like yeah, discuss problems with them.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. One more thing, Sergey. Sorry, Mudit. So this club that you talked about, the firefighters club, it was only in that town, or generally Belarus has a culture where you have many such clubs spread across the country?
It's not that each of those places are called something like firefighters club, but what we have is that at some schools there are usually the teachers who are in their main occupation, math teachers or informatics teacher, who in their spare time, in the free time, they create this small community, they create the small clubs, they do the advertisements in the schools, they propose to good students that there is such a place where you can come and you can try solving competitive programming tasks. So there are lots of like small centers where you can enroll and get the basics. But the thing is, at some point, the tasks start to be complicated, and you start to meet people from other cities and towns because you need to discuss something more complex, and not everyone wants to devote all the time to competitive programming perfection. But in
Makes
general,
sense. Yeah.
it's something that works. The place where you get the skills on how to write basic code in C++. It's usually some small clubs that are somewhere. They are decentralized. There is no authority, but there are some people who just love it and who want to share the passion around competitive programming and programming at all.
Yeah, Mudit.
No, this is interesting actually. Like my question was going to be around this itself. Like when I look at within Pathway also, there are a lot of folks who are like top 10 at the global level of uh, code jam and whatnot, and it's not the most common thing that you'd see in India. I see there's a common pattern. Like when I look at Russia or Eastern European region, it's kind of known for producing outstanding competitive programmers and programming talent in general. So like, do you think there's something unique culturally or educationally wise, like which consistently fosters top talent there, which probably India would not have?
There are things that definitely help. One of that is the rule that when you are in the high school, I did not do lots of ICPC, so most of my experience is from high school. But in the high school, if you get a diploma in national competition in informatics, I think there are also national competition in informatics in many countries, in India as well. So if you get a diploma, you can enter several very good universities in the country without taking exams. And you can enter unconditionally. You don't need to prove like anything. And because of that, lots of people are much more relaxed. They don't have to spend time on doing several things at once. They don't have to prepare for their high school exams, the university entrance exams, and the Olympiads. And they are much more devoted because you only have one thing to do, and you don't have to worry about your future. And this is one thing. Another thing is, as I said, community. We have enough people who did not stop doing competitive programming even after they graduated from university and started doing the full-time jobs. They still continue doing it, and this way we have several generations, and everyone knows everyone, and the community is bigger, and there is better selection of folks who can teach you and who can train you. And when it comes to the final step, let's say the industry, thing is, I don't know what is the situation in India, but in Russia it's like this. We have our own service for everything, our own taxi, our own Amazon for shopping, our own groceries online, and so on. And there is quite like big population, not very big, but 100 million people. So lots of users, lots of services you do, and it's very like young. There are lots of freedom. You can come and say, okay, I want to develop this direction, I want to develop that, and you don't have as many obstacles as you usually have in big tech, because in big tech, it takes you decades until you climb to the top of this pyramid, of this hierarchy, and you can actually be in charge of making decisions. When the country does everything of their own, and there is big demand in programmers, in software engineers, there are lots of good spots where you can just come and take. So it also helps to train people to do complex things and to take responsibility. So I think it's a combination of several things. So, but community, I think, is the main part, because when there are people whom you can ask, from whom you can learn, it solves lots of problems. You can avoid being stuck.
That brings me to this point, right? When you said there are a lot of these recognition to the Olympiads, that even if you get a diploma in Olympiads, you get a direct admission into the university.
Yeah.
In India, very recently, I'm very happy to share with all the users that very recently, one of the most prestigious institute in India, IIT Kanpur, has started giving admissions based on the performance at the Olympiads. It is still not as prevalent as in Belarus. There are very few universities which do this. But in IIT, the topmost, one of the top IITs giving this is going to give a lot of push towards people doing Olympiads and informatics and programming in school. Now, coming to this, Kshitij, you decided to go to MIT. I don't know if you even gave IIT JEE or not, or did you want to go to IIT? You chose in a way. I'm sure if you wanted to give JEE, probably you could have. It is a bit harder to get into the top-notch IITs in India, but what would you prefer if, assuming you had both the choice, and why?
I got into MIT last December, actually, so around exactly a year ago. I think this
Hmm.
year's results came like yesterday.
Hmm.
So yeah, I decided to go there. I did not give JEE.
But if you had both the choice, would you still choose MIT over IITs?
Yes.
And what would make that choice for you? Why? What would tilt that scale? Why not IITs over, and why MIT?
But I think MIT has a more global community, so which is a huge
Hmm.
plus in my opinion.
Hmm.
And it's also a
Apart
much
from,
like older university.
Hmm.
but how do you think
And
like
how?
at that?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
And I'm just curious, like at that point in time, how do you think the age of an institute plus global community would, so global community has an obvious yeah, this pretty much an obvious reason why it would benefit someone, but on the age of the institute and other factors that may have played a role, I'm just curious to understand like how do you think it mattered at that point in time, like when the institute could have been like, let's say 15 years or 20 years old as well, or like in the case of IITs they're roughly 80 years old. So I mean, something of that sort also could have served the purpose, right? Why did you feel that an MIT would play a much better role as compared to an IIT? Is there something that you saw was missing that you wished was probably there?
One thing I've noticed is that here I can like choose what courses I want to take in which semester, and so I can like plan according to what I want. And from some of my friends, I've heard that at least in most Indian universities, you can't choose that, and mostly in the first 2 and 3 years, it's like fixed. So I think that is a huge plus point.
Hmm.
So here
Okay.
you can like you have to complete the
Okay.
requirements, but you can like do that in any order, which is quite nice in my opinion.
Okay.
That's one
Okay.
point.
So, sorry, Mudit. Yeah.
No, no, please go ahead.
Yeah. So you have spent a small amount of time there, right? You went there. When did you go there?
So it has been like my first semester has like almost
First
ended.
semester, right? And experience-wise, are you happy? Do you miss home? Do you miss being here, or what is it like?
I think I'm really happy here. I really like MIT and like I really like the environment here.
Huh. And what would you have if you have to advise, other CP programmers in India to think about their academic choices? I'm sure there is a lot more number of people, though the number is not very high, but there are significantly more serious people who are doing competitive programming in school now than what was, say, 5 years, 10 years ago. So if they are doing CP, now all of them probably cannot get an admission into an MIT, right? Or maybe they can. I don't know. So what would you advise them? How should they choose their careers?
MIT takes only a few Indians every year, but they're like MIT is not the only university, so there are like lots of good universities both in India and US, like and other countries.
Hmm.
So I would definitely recommend exploring like all possible options that you could have,
Hmm.
and like and at the end you can just pick the best one you got into, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
I have a
That's
question
a
for both.
very sure, Mudit. Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's a very generic advice. Yes, of course, everyone will want to get the best that they have, but not everyone can probably channelize their efforts towards everything, right? For example, I don't know if did you prepare for JEE and you just chose not to give it because you got into MIT?
Oh no, I didn't.
So there are some people in India, right? Almost everyone starts preparing for JEE almost at when they're in class 6, 7, 8, 9, and so those who really love doing CP, would you advise them to still have a crack at JEE, or would you say, okay, nahi, there are better options, focus on your CP and try the other route because it is clearly another route.
So it actually depends. Like being good at comparative programming might get you admission, but I think you have to be really good at it. So it
Hmm.
really depends. So if you're like at IOI level, I think you don't need to do. If
Hmm.
you reach the Indian camp, you also get admission in a few institutes in India, like CMI
Hmm.
and Triple IT Hyderabad. So I
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
in that case, you could consider if you want to or not. And if
Huh.
you are like still not IOITC level and are say in grade 11, then it might make more sense to focus more on
Okay.
Indian entrances, I would say.
So that's a more channelized approach. So if you are in grade 11, and you are at IOITC, then probably you can take a chance of not, preparing for JEE. But if you're not there, then, focus on all the options that you have. Is that the right conclusion?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it also
Hmm.
depends on your interest, on what you're
Of
interested
course.
in, I would say.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, Mudit.
I mean, I'm just curious, like, two questions. First one to Kshitij and second one probably to both of you. Kshitij, Sergey mentioned, for example, about having a community of people that he could learn with. In your case, you were doing comparative programming while you were in school. So naturally, you would not have a lot of people in your school who would be at that level of programming. So how did you manage to find people that you could learn with?
But initially, for a month or so, I didn't actually know anyone who was doing comparative programming, so it was just me. But then I tried finding people online. So there are like online forums and like Code Chef, Code Forces, and other sites. And I like tried to post there and also message people. And that is how I got to know some people. And I met a friend online, and he also added me to some group which had like Indian comparative programmers who were school students initially. So that is how I found some people. And when during COVID, I was also active on Discord comparative programming servers, and there was like some people who were looking for making a group of like similar level comparative programmers where we can like discuss problems regularly and also like give hints to each other, like if someone is stuck in a problem, or like discuss after a contest how it went and like about certain problems how they solved it. So I
Hmm.
joined that, and it was like around 5 6 people. It grew to around 10, and like I think almost everyone did end up going to IOI in like different countries.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
So Discord is where the firefighters club runs in India, or elsewhere. Yeah. Hmm.
Like, by the way, you both have Kshitij and Sergey at your level. You've made decent strides. People look up to you for various reasons. Sergey, for various reasons, was already quite famous when I met him for the first time before joining Pathway. Kshitij, you're definitely a sensation in India right now. But is there a sacrifice that you made early on, which has probably contributed a lot to your growth? And looking back, do you think it was worth it? Sergey, maybe you can go first, and then
Uh,
Kshitij.
sure. Well, sacrifice sounds a little bit dramatic, I think, for the topic, but what I would name it decision. So for me, the decision was rather simple at the beginning of my career in software engineering. After I realized that I got in a good team. So you really, when you look for your first workplaces, you really need to assess the quality of the team you're getting into. You need to end up close to some senior folks and end up with people who can teach you lots of things and who are recognized specialists. So after I ensured that I got into the team with very strong employees, with very strong colleagues, I devoted lots of time into professional growth. I was working overtime voluntarily, and I think we can say that it's a sacrifice of a sort. I was working very like long weeks, like 70, 80 hours per week. And I use this time to communicate with people as much as possible, to ask them to teach me in some related areas. Like we write some code, we deploy it, okay. Then I spend extra time to learn what is deployment, how it works, what are the options, why it's made this way. We're doing distributed service, okay. Then I devote time to understand what are the distributed services. We use Postgres for the background, okay. Then when there is an issue with Postgres, I dive into this issue and I learn. And it takes a lot of time, much more than you actually need just to perform your main duties and get your salary. But in the beginning, your growth is sort of linear function from the time you spend into it. So for me, it sort of paid off because I had a rather big, rather quick growth in terms of roles and in terms of projects. And eventually it gave me an access to a wide range of interesting projects, the world-changing projects, such as Pathway, for example. So it definitely paid off. So I would say this, not very original, but it's something that really helps you to grow. And if you have a competitive mindset, I can say that it helps you to outperform our other people and to be at the better place in the market.
This leads me to a question, Sergey. Before Kshitij also probably wants to answer that. Um, so a lot of people see competitive programming as a path to either a career opportunity. Some people take to
Mm,
competitive programming because they like doing competitive programming. They like it as a
yeah.
game, right? So no matter which one you consider, and you also mentioned, right, that competitive programming helps you outperform so many other people. But once you become an engineer, once you get into these big global companies like Yandex, Pathway, right, where you are working with a team, and when you work with that team, do you still want to outperform others, or do you want to work? But does that competitive spirit actually help, or is it something that is not so good for the team?
Well, of course, it's more about collaboration when you work on big and complicated projects. But in case you look for a job, in case you observe the possibilities that are on the market, it is sort of competition. So I'm not saying at all that it's a good idea to treat your colleagues as your competitors. It's it's not a good thing to do, because you need to be concentrated and focused on the same thing. You have the same goal, basically. If you reach the goal, everyone is happy. If you don't reach the goal, everyone is unhappy. It's not like in the competition. But why I said about the competitive component is that when you are observing the market and when you are deciding what you want to do, your choices basically depend on how good you are in particular area, if you are compared to the other folks that are also doing the same. So, and I think it's also sort of similar in case of admission to top universities. Even though I used the quota, I guess if you try to enroll, for example, in MIT, I don't know, but for me, it also looks like a competition. And I think the competitive mindset helps at times, but of course, you need to understand the cases when it should and when it should not be applied.
So one of the reasons why I also ask you this is, now I will extend it to the other side of the question, which often I get asked very much with a lot of people in India. When I meet them, they ask me, sir, is competitive programming very essential to become a good software engineer? Right? A lot of people say that they yes, it is, and a lot of people say no, you don't need to do competitive programming. You can still become a good software engineer. So this is a very often asked question.
This is
So
not.
now that you are at a very senior level, so what do you think? What would you advise people?
I would say that it's not the only way to become a great software engineer, because I saw great software engineers. I saw the people who are much smarter than me, and they do not have any competitive programming experience, but they have some different kind of experience. For example, I know some brilliant folks from academia who did the career in research, and then they decided to do software engineering. I know a guy who is I think he can be called a 10x software engineer, and he has background in physics. And he says that he imagines that every system that he builds is something from the world of physics, and that helps. So there are multiple ways to improve in this area, but competitive programming is definitely one of them. It helps you to find community. It helps you to understand the basic things, because while working in big companies, not in Pathway. Pathway is rather small, and we have a very top team. But when you're working in bigger scale enterprises, sometimes you open a review and someone does a for loop over an array with 1,000,000 elements, and you look at this and like, that's not gonna work. And not everyone understands why it can be bad decisions. So I think everyone needs to understand how very basic algorithms work, how everything works under the hood, and the CP helps you to gain this understanding.
That makes me even sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just getting so many question ideas. When you said it's you still believe that people should know how things work under the hood. Now that AI has come, that's a totally different thing altogether. A lot of people just don't need to know under the hood. They can just ask, you know, and do things at a very high level. So maybe I can park this question for later and get back to Kshitij to answer the question that is pending with which Mudit asked. Yeah, we'll take this maybe in a while. But Kshitij, yeah.
Sure.
So any sacrifices that you made, which you think looking back was worth it, not worth it? I don't know. It has been a very chill life so far.
I think sacrifices is like a exaggerated term here. I
Same
don't
as
think I like made
but
any sacrifices because when I
Mhm.
did comparative programming, I really enjoyed solving it. So it did not feel like a chore or like something or like I'm forced to do it. And
Mhm.
I was so passionate about it that I would just keep doing it. And if you have an interesting problem, you would like try to solve it for a long time, like and not see the solution, right?
And you think even after you got a gold for the first time, there was no pressure for you that the next time that okay, no, this time we expect the gold from Kshitij again. Or Kshitij expects a gold from Kshitij again.
Well, after getting gold for the first time, I definitely did want to gold the second time, but I did not take pressure as such. As I think
Mhm,
taking pressure only like leads to a worse results generally. So
mhm.
it's better to just be like chill and just do your best, I think.
Okay. On this point, I'll ask again one more thing. So when you got the gold for the first time, did people around you knew that there is what gold he has won? Where is he? People know about Olympiads around you. I'm not talking about general CP community that you were working with on Discord, but like in real life, people around you.
My family members and relatives knew about that. And also, like
Uh,
lots of my friends from math and informatics Olympiad did know about that.
hmm.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
there was
What
also
about
like a live scoreboard, so people were able to like track that. Some people were actually like tracking that who were like active in
wow?
competitive programming. Yeah,
And what about your neighbor? Does your neighbor know that you got a gold at IOI twice?
they
Just
might
curious.
know
They might know.
a
Okay.
bit, maybe one neighbor. Yeah.
Okay. Sergey, your journey is slightly different than his. You won a silver medal in 2011, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. And how old were you then?
I was 15, I guess.
Okay.
I had 2 more attempts, so
So then you won a bronze in 2012 and then a gold in 2013.
yeah, yeah. Actually, in this bronze, I went with the intention to win gold. And when you
Uh-huh.
try to win gold, at times your tactic is different. You don't give
Mm-hmm.
up, for example, on getting 100 points on a certain problem because you understand that it's crucial for you to get in the
Mm-hmm.
gold zone. And if you fail, well, you cannot guarantee yourself even silver medal, and this happened to me. But next year, I performed better, so I had a goal of winning gold, and eventually
Mm-hmm.
it happened. So it's a story with a good ending.
Was there a pressure the third time because second time you did not win a gold?
I think there were more pressure the second time because I had a track record of winning silver medal, and everyone expected that next year the silver must evolve to gold, and everyone expected gold. And then I got back with bronze. I don't know, maybe some people were disappointed with me, but for me it was not not so much pressure the third time because I had no expectations because I this time I knew that it can turn out differently. So the second
Nice.
time I had expectations and everyone else had expectations. The third time I did not have any expectations and I don't know if everyone else, but it was easier in terms of psychology and handling the
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah. Mudit, over to you. Sorry for taking up so much. Yeah. Go
No,
ahead with
all
your
good.
questions.
Um, I'll just, by the way, pop up one particular question. So, an interesting thing is this set of discussions that we had, it answers a couple of questions that we have received over chat, which is around using like CP for programming, CP for professional advantage. There's one question which says if CP, one can build a profession entirely around competitive programming, to which maybe a very short answer could be helpful. But, Sergey, would you want to take that up very quickly?
The
If a
question is,
profession,
can a person be professional only thanks to competitive programming and not considering other
yeah, I
areas?
mean, exactly. Can someone build an entire profession around competitive programming
Mm,
unless someone is creating something like Code Chef?
I don't know, but I guess the answer is no, because when you enter your first big tech job or any like industry job, quickly you realize that knowing algorithms is like 10% or even 5% of if you need to know, because you write in the competitive programming, you write programs that are executed at your laptop. In case of Google, it's not like this. Google is not executed on anyone's laptop. It's a very complicated system. It involves computer networks, distributed systems, consensus algorithms, fault tolerance, and many topics. So I think if you restrict only to competitive programming, you close many doors for you. I would suggest that one should be more open-minded, and then you can get some really nice opportunities that you'd love. So I would say it's not a very good idea to restrict yourself only to competitive programming.
I'd see an interesting pattern here, by the way, which basically is around that, um, like a lot of elements around program. Maybe this is the right cue, probably. Like for example, when Kshitij and Sergey mentioned their journeys around how they were approaching a problem statement, around winning some competition or something like that, and then around the basic logic of how CP builds your problem solving and DS algorithm skills. It teaches you a lot of things around mental models, around decision making, around programming and everything, but it's not in entirety something that translates directly to a profession, if that is correct. Um, I'll probably pick one interesting question here. Like yeah, before that, before the start of the session, we announced that we'll be giving away a few questions and having giveaways around it. So the format works like this: I'll be throwing three random questions after, not obviously not while Sergey or Kshitij is answering or Anup is asking a question, but it will be at random time. So you have to be attentive. You put the answers in the comments, and if you get it right, you will be getting a goodie from us, which will be customized for you. And for that, we'll be dropping an email ID towards the end that you can email on via your ID with which you have been responding. Okay, cool. So the first ever question like that I have is, what's the best ever rank in ICPC from India? We'll wait for 10 seconds, and then maybe anyone on this particular uh, group can answer that. So yes, we'll wait for 10
Kshitij
seconds.
can answer only.
I
I
answered
like
already.
no, that's on our private chat, but not on the YouTube.
Oh, I see.
Uh, yeah. So I like the
Ah,
customized thing that you're customizing it uh, for folks. Do we get the goodie also? Do we
yeah,
get a
yeah,
chance to get a
yeah.
goodie?
Oh, you both know. I mean, happy to share. Send something from Pathway to both of you. Sergey obviously has them, but yeah, we have the
Mm.
first two right answers. Actually, an instant one came from Kshitij right away when we
No,
started this.
but there are some people who are giving it as 12.
Yeah, which is very interesting. Like, there's a reason why people are saying 12, maybe. So, Anup, maybe
Yeah.
why don't you disclose the answer, because it's something which is very
No,
close
no,
to
no.
your heart.
I only knew uh, before when I was a part of Code Chef. Till then, it was I think 18. But I guess I'm not sure if somebody has crossed that or not. So if there are multiple people saying 12, maybe in the last 3 years, one team has actually gotten 12. I'm not sure. We need to check that out.
I think the best rank stands what Kshitij right away DM, which is 18. Yeah,
Huh?
I don't think anyone.
Okay.
And because it was around 2012, that's why probably people are mixing it with
Yes.
12. Maybe.
That I'm
I mean, if
aware of. 2012, I'm definitely aware of that. There were a couple of teams, one from Triple IT Hyderabad and one from IIT Delhi. Actually, there are two teams who got the rank of
yes,
18. That was the only
yes,
time that India entered top 20 at ICPC.
yes.
But I guess there is one more time that either IIT Indore or some other IIT has gotten into it. I'm not entirely sure, so I will need to verify that.
By the people are
Okay.
taking interesting guesses. Somebody said rank 18 IIT Kanpur, rank 18 IT Roorkee, um, rank 18
Yeah.
Triple IT Hyderabad, which is actually the most precise answer. But then we are taking the first two from Ayush Shukla and Jagdish Patil. So congrats. Make sure you stay till the end. I'll be dropping the email IDs then. The another question is very related to to this particular bit, but a very small hint I'll drop right away. So an interesting thing, like, if you know, I don't know how many of you are tracking it, but uh, I was just checking it out. Interestingly enough, a lot of people who have really killed it in the programming space are working very closely in the domain that Pathway is working on, including the folks who clinched the highest rank from India to date. So it's very interesting. Like that's one of the questions that I'll be putting across with Sergey actually. Um, Later on once we have put in that question, but for now I have a very small question, so like, which is very related to what we saw in the comments, which is like, do you see CP as a way to just like a pure fun element to it, or you think there's some strategic angle to it, like maybe CP can be used for getting jobs or for getting academic opportunities, or for you it's only about like enjoying the fun of competing and beating some of the folks that you find cool. What's your take on it, Sergey and Kshitij?
Who starts?
You see CP as a, yeah, you see it
Who
as a sport?
starts? Uh, okay, so if I go first, I would say that it's both, and of course it's difficult to do something you don't like. And the competitive programming, if you want to achieve results, if it requires devotion. And how can you devote so much time into it without actually liking it? But from the professional angle, uh, as for someone who did mostly competitive programming in the high school, I would say that it's one of the best things you can actually do for your career in the early age. Because suppose you are 13 and you cannot go into internship, you cannot get a job, you cannot do many things, you cannot go to the university and listen to university courses on distributed systems. But what you can do and what will stay with you for your entire life, and what actually brings you some benefits in the future, also some benefits for getting a work. It helps. It's not sufficient, but it helps. Is actually to learn algorithms. So by participating in those competitions, when you are in the early age, you are doing a thing which will stay beneficial for you for decades. And it's while it's fun, it's sort of strategic decision and strategic thing for you that you can take. So it's both, but it's hard to do it without getting fun and pleasure out of it.
Interesting. And Kshitij, what about you? Like, how do you view CP?
Well, I think it is a combination of both. Firstly, it's really fun. The prompts are like really interested, and you would get like hooked to them for very long. And it also has like it definitely opens up many opportunities for you if you are good at comparative programming. It also improves your mathematical and programming abilities, I feel, and you become a more strong programmer as a result, and have all the required knowledge of basic algorithms and data structures. And I feel, yeah, if you're good at it, it definitely opens a lot of opportunities for you. It's also really
Interesting.
fun, and I would like recommend not doing it just for like the sake of like you want to get into XYZ thing by doing comparative programming. That should not be the goal. That can be one of the things, but you should also like really enjoy it, in my opinion. If you truly like want
Hmm.
to experience results, you should be like passionate about it because it is fun, and not because it has benefits, but it does have benefits. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Did it help you get into MIT? Do you think it had some role to play in it?
I think it had a huge role to play in getting into MIT. I feel IOI really helps.
Okay,
So
CP
that
helped, but
also
I
brings yes, sir.
directly play a
that
role.
that brings me to this very curious question. So now that you are at MIT, now that you have so many other things to explore, will you continue doing CP or will you leave CP?
I'm not leaving CP, but I'm definitely practicing way less than what I used to like a year back. So I'm
Hmm.
also exploring other things. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm. Is there a unique cultural aspect of MIT that you wish you probably saw at IITs? Mention that there's a global exposure, which is probably a very difficult problem to solve for Indian institutes just yet. But beyond that, is there something culturally that you like about MIT that you wish was probably in Indian universities?
Well, I feel that people explore a lot here, I would say. And it's also, I think the majors are also not that fixed, I would say. So people can easily add a double major or like switch majors over here, which I think is probably nice. So people, I think like some people actually change majors after going in. So yeah, that is one thing I guess, which is quite different.
Okay, interesting. Um, Maybe I'll throw the next question. No, just this one, and then maybe you can
Sure.
share the another one. So like this is to Sergey, basis like what we've kind of gathered so far. So like Sergey, like what do you wish that fresh graduates brought to the table beside like raw algorithmic skills? Like, is there a particular trait, a mindset that you rarely see, but you really value?
That's a good question. So for hiring, uh, I would say that problem-solving skills matter a lot because, and it's something that stays the same that is required for both big techs and the startups. For instance, some time ago, we had a task to become the fastest data processing framework on the market, and you solve the problem. You do something that needs to outperform what exists. And of course, without strong problem-solving skills, it is impossible. You need to know how to approach. You need to have some non-standard thinking. You need to think out of the box. Besides, what would really help the new grads themselves? I would say it's curiosity because the topics that are taught at universities are not always corresponding up to date to what you are going to face at your full-time job. So if you are curious, you can make an interesting adventure out of it. And this way you can both learn quicker and you can do it with fun, with a portion of fun. Yeah. And in terms of in terms of skills that are in demand, and we also have the job openings right now at Pathway website, and we constantly look for people with strong problem-solving skills. So if you do have strong problem-solving skills, please apply. Anup, sorry,
And
you're muted.
Sorry, I just asked, are you hiring people from India for your engineering team?
Oh, there are remote positions, so
Oh, oh wow.
we can
What
always talk.
else? Okay, great. I think a lot of Indian software engineers would love to, work in your company, in a company like Pathway, and especially if they're remote. There are not too many remote opportunities left anymore, as much as they used to be earlier. So yeah,
yeah,
great place.
like market we actually have like people from 8 countries, so we have to be remote. I think offices wise we're just in France, Poland, and the US. But then yes, we are
Mhm.
pretty much remote. Yes, correct. Thanks for that plugin, Anup and Sergey. Really helps. Uh, I have Anup, like I mean,
I'll pick
maybe you
that
want to
up.
put it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
This also aligns a little bit with what where we left that question, right? In getting under the hood. So a lot of these, especially with I don't myself, I'm not an AI researcher. I've not studied AI at all. I'm just a consumer of AI in all ways, possible ways. So AI is now, especially the whole research in AI is making you want to make AI better at reasoning, right? You want to make AI better at thinking, AI solving problems. Um, do you think this is for both of you? I'm not sure how much interest Kshitij has in studying AI in the future. But do you think AI will kill CP completely at some point in time? I know that conducting these competitions, especially this experience with ICPC, when we conducted the online competition, there were like we had to write prompts in the problem so that AI can give us probably something wrong, an answer which we can figure out that it has been given by the AI. And lot of answers were actually just done by the AI. So you think it is like kind of killing AI because a lot of these models are trained on CP problems, right? So what do you think? Anyone can go first. Sergey, you want to go first?
Okay, I don't think it's going to kill the competitive programming because people do it for fun, and they can still do it for fun. What I think it can do, it can change the competitive programming, the looks of competitive programming, because for me, sometimes it's beneficial that I can avoid reading some documentation on a new library and just ask the chat GPT itself, please create a small snippet of code so that I understand how to work with this or that system. So why not to adapt the same in competitive programming? Maybe in 5 years or in a decade, we will see much more complicated tasks, and the solving process of these tasks will include the usage of ChatGPT. Maybe it will become the part of the process. But I think, yeah, now we will solve the problems that are now unimaginable, solvable in 2 hours or so. So why not to go to this direction? But in general, I think it will never kill the CP because people do it for fun. And if it brings fun, people will continue doing that regardless of technologies.
That's actually a very, very interesting take on it, right? That it will probably change how CP is being done and the kind of level of problems that are being solved. Also, what you mentioned is embracing a GPT and AI in problem solving rather than trying to say, okay, don't use this. So that will probably also come in. But do you think that right now there are models who are being trained and told that okay, they need to they need to solve say medium level problem or a 1800 level problem on code forces, right? So there are these models who are being trained on solving these CP problems. So will that help going ahead? And also there are a lot of students. Yes, I understand what you're saying. The spirit of CP is more about fun, more about passion, but
Yeah,
whether we want to believe it or not, CP is also being done because it provides opportunities. And
yeah,
and a lot of people from India actually take to CP because it is a means to an end rather than just being fun, right? So that those areas may change probably. The competitive spirit of the fun thing will not change. But it's interesting that how you say that CP, the course may change, right? But what do you think about why are these models? So how will that change? That the models being able to solve like say a 1800 difficulty problem on code courses.
Well, a while ago, there was a discussion about pre-written code, and the discussion was, is it ethical to use the pre-written code patterns during the competitions, or you need to start clean? And if I remember correctly, one of those who advocated not using the pre-written code was a tourist. As you can see,
Oh,
it did not affect a lot his performance and his ranks, but it's
wow.
lots of,
Okay.
it's pretty much the anecdote, so one needs to
Uh-huh.
check. But still, so there were always discussions about that. But also, I would want to point out that the most important competitions, the competitions that get you those tokens for entering the universities, that get cash prizes and scholarships, they are on site. So you're not doing a good thing to yourself if instead of training properly, you just use the chat GPT. Of course, you can get a bit more of code forces rating. Maybe it will be 1 or 200 higher that your rating without chat GPT. But the problem is you cannot convert your online platform rating to anything. It doesn't bring you any benefit on itself. It only brings you pleasure or not pleasure that you see the number and you evaluate your performance. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's so much of a problem. Be a
Kshitij,
little
how
bit
Okay.
what do
more
Yeah,
you
yeah.
optimist here.
Yeah. Kshitij, I would like to know, Kshitij, how much AI has kind of helped you in your CP preparation? Has it at all helped you or not? Or how do you see it going ahead?
Well, I feel the time LLMs had come, Um, I had already had a lot of comparative
Yeah.
programming experience, so I personally did not use AI to like learn comparative programming. But I feel AI is like quite good at solving very standard problems because it's like trained on it. So it can like
Mhm.
solve all lead code problems, for example.
Mhm.
So actually,
Hmm.
sometimes AI is also like good at explaining some problems. It might be good for explaining basic problems, so people might use it to learn. Although I
Mm.
personally do not recommend, like, say if you are taking part in an online contest, just like putting the problem in ChatGPT and asking, "Can you solve this?"
Yeah.
So I strongly recommend against this because
Mhm.
it might be able to solve the initial problems right now, but it won't be able to solve everything. And I feel that your skills will improve less if you do that. And also, as Sergi mentioned, you cannot use it in on-site competitions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading a code forces blog that like one of the ICPC problems people were able to solve using ChatGPT or something.
Yeah.
Interesting. But I
Okay.
think like this also takes me back to my experience at CodeChef. I noticed like there are a lot of set of companies which tend to give lead code like problem statements when they hire. And then there's this another realm of companies who love to go beyond that and legit push people to think really hard. I think it'll be a AI is getting better at reasoning, and it's very interesting how CP is playing a role at it. But it'll probably take a bit more time for AI to reach. I don't know. Let's see. It's very. I don't know if that's the notion that my colleagues at Pathway might have, but it's very interesting. Like for example, when we look at companies like Pathway and the likes of it, or even I remember there were a few very top 1 2 companies at CodeChef who would come and hire. Their problems would not be the one that would be very related to the patterns that you see elsewhere. It would be a bit different. So yeah, I think it'll take some time. For those of us like who do not know, by the way, I love this parallel world where like if you look at kind of people who are at Pathway, in fact even at Pathway, um, and even at OpenAI and the likes of it, how closely is the competitive programming community fueling the talent of of these AI companies? Like um, there are a lot of folks that, in fact, one of the co-founders of Pathway was was a co-founder of Spodge. Then at OpenAI, I was looking at some senior VP being a coach of competitive programming for some particular country, and a lot of people who have joined OpenAI from India. Not a lot, but I saw a few folks who were from the ICPC background. It's quite interesting how the worlds are related, and if it's a sport, like even chess is a sport, right? And AI has been there for a while. It has been solving for chess, but then yes, like this, people still exist. We still love the game pretty much. Interesting. um yeah. I have, by the way, on that note, I'll throw another question for folks to win some prizes. So I don't know if Kshitij will get this particular question just like at the same pace as which he got the previous one. So Kshitij, I'll open this question to you also. Okay,
Okay.
you can also win it. Like it's a very short and simple question. Let me pop that up. What's the use of pathways framework? Serg, obviously you can't answer it. You're one of the people behind it, so it'll be quite a cheating if you're allowed to answer it. And your 10 seconds starts now. Maybe you can Google it if anyone wants to. Yeah, let's see.
So while people answer, can I ask a question?
Uh,
No.
yes, if Kshitij wants to answer, then because if he's trying to give an answer, then it'll be unfair to him, no?
I don't know the answer to
Mhm.
this. I could probably Google, but I think, yeah, you can ask the question.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Kshitij,
And by the way, we're
and
almost
this
out
is,
of time
mm,
for the question. Yeah.
oh yeah, sorry about it. We are, I think, over time by 5 minutes, but I'll ask this to both of you, and this time I think Kshitij can go first. Sergey is going first for a lot of
Yeah,
rounds.
yeah,
So, did you ever think of quitting programming?
No, I
I
never
know it's a
thought of quitting programming.
mm,
I always like really enjoyed it. And I
mhm,
feel that if you put in a lot of effort and are passionate about something, then definitely you would want to like stay in it. Yeah. You wouldn't want to
Okay.
like quit something you like.
Okay. I think that's also because probably Kshitij still has a very small career, though he has put in a lot of small, not career, a small stint relatively compared to what Sergey has. And even though in that small stint, there are a lot of number of hours put in. Yeah. To get to where he is, I'm sure that is, we shouldn't quantify it by the number of years. But Sergey, what do you think? You have spent a lot of time. You have been doing programming since you were like 12 years old. So ever the thought came in your mind that no, enough, done, not anymore.
It's usually not that you want to quit. It's usually
Mm-hmm.
that you want to do something different because this area is very diverse. During my first time when I wanted to like consider quitting, when I got back from my second IOI and brought
Mm-hmm.
bronze instead of gold, and I did not exactly quit, but I learned how to do some small real life applications, that there are REST APIs and different services, and that I can play with them. And I still did programming, but with sort of different tasks. And a few months later, I got back to competitive programming. So I think you need to listen to yourself, and it's likely that you have put so much effort, you spend so much time, not to quit, but just because you probably are tired and you just need to try something different. So if you're doing competitive programming, you can try internship or industry experience. If you're working in a big company, you can probably try a startup. If you are doing systems programming, you can try working more in product area and vice versa. So I don't think we should be radical here. I'm sure that most of the time is just that you want to try to do something different, but in the
And
same area.
do you still get time to get back to CP ever? Do you take part in any competitions?
Not as much as I would want to, but
Mm-hmm.
still after graduating from school, when I did lots of competitive programming, I participated in Google Hashcode. It's a pity that
Yeah,
they stopped this competition, and I liked it a lot because it's a mix of competitive programming and solving the something industry scale. So
right.
What was your rank in Hashcode, if I may ask?
uh,
Last
last time it was top 10, but I don't remember exactly. Maybe it was
fancy.
10th. This is why I say that this is top 10. If it was ninth, I would have said that it's top 9. So
Okay,
so
that
I do
that
not
also makes me.
remember, but let's say that it was the 10th.
Uh,
But there
Kshitij, what
are
was your rank? Sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm good.
Yeah, you were saying there are.
In Hashcode there were thousands of teams, so getting the 10th was already not that bad.
Mhm.
Now Sergey is backing his 10th rank. No, but we know it's quite competitive enough. But it's actually quite a cool feat.
Yeah,
I know the question that Anup has because I had the same question. Anup, like, why don't you go ahead? Around the rank of
no,
Kshitij.
Kshitij, in both the times that you got gold, I think a lot of people probably do not even know that IOI actually gives 25 gold medals every year, right? So if you are in top 25 or one fourth or one half and third,
1/12.
1/6,
1/12. Yeah.
1/12, 1/12, right? So if you are in the top 1/12, then you get a gold.
So
So
yeah,
what was your rank at
basically,
both the times? Hmm.
yeah, you basically like I will explain the first how the medals are calculated. But
Yeah.
after taking account like 4 people per country for 98 countries, they take the top 12, 1/12. And so my ranks were 13 and 21.
Mhm. Okay. Nice.
Interesting. Um, uh, on that note, I'll also answer the question that I asked, and we'll pick the last question in that case. I see a lot of comments that have come in. There's legit one comment which is directly copy pasted from our documentation. So I wouldn't be considering that. it's plagiarism and not accepted in the CP community. Well, somebody has said RAG will augment generation. That is partially correct. We'll take that. And the next one is analytics for data streams. It's also correct. So it's actually interesting. Like Sergey did mention that there was a point when they were trying to build fastest data processing framework in the world, and it is very much related to this particular aspect. So we did drop a hint earlier. Sergey, maybe I had this question, but before we put the last question to Kshitij, Sergey, do you want to like quickly share like what's the correlation here? Like, why is creating the fastest data processing framework or empowering AI with live data related to the idea of being better at competitive programming? Like, how are the two worlds related?
Well, the data processing, I would say, has lots in common, lots of requirements from algorithmic area, because to process data in real time, well, sometimes you have the task that you are given some queries that you have to quickly respond. Here it's similar, but it works not only on one computer, and there are lots of other things you need to consider, but you already can see some common parts.
Hmm.
So
Interesting. Which also probably explains why a lot of past CP winners are now in this domain of pushing systems to work with real-time data,
it does
introducing
not
the latest.
entirely boil down to this, but the easiest way to think about it is exactly this. So you build
Hmm.
some structure that accepts data and that has to respond some kind of queries quickly. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. Um, Kshitij, last question to you. Um, and this is something that Anup would have loved to ask, but I'm happy to put it across instead of him. So, like, what do you think is missing in India's ecosystem, and what do you think, like, what change could help India churn out more medalists year after year?
Basically, how do we get more Kshitij Sodani in India?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that definitely Olympiads like informatics, mathematics, and other subjects should be promoted a bit more everywhere. And I feel that the education system should also like maybe open institutes which are like which have some focus on these, which don't exist right now.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
maybe like Sergi mentioned, like the club of firefighters, like something like that. Maybe some comparative programming offline clubs can be started because I'm not aware
Mhm.
of any offline clubs at the school level. It's mostly just online stuff.
But there are in Delhi, I think there are a lot of schools who have a programming clubs, but may not be a firefighters club
I think a few
or a
schools
C.
have a programming club, but it's mostly just like you basically go to some inter-school competition and once every
Hmm.
1 or 2 months and take part there. I don't know if they actually like teach.
Hmm. Okay. Sorry, said it's the last question, but I have one more question for Kulik, which I forgot then and now I remember. I know we are past time. Just one last question, okay? At least from my end, promise. So, Sergey, in Belarus or in your city, hometown, what was more popular, IMO or IOI?
IOI, definitely.
Wow.
We were
Wow.
in my town. We had and still have the great respect for IMO winners, but
Mhm.
we have never had any in my hometown. IMO is
Okay.
mostly done within the top schools in the capital, because there are
Okay.
centers for IMO preparation.
The reason why I ask is because in India, still a lot of people know about IMO, the International Mathematics Olympiads, but there are very few people who know about IOI.
I
Very,
think
very few people.
it's
Yeah.
easier to enroll in IOI if you are in the small town, because
Uh-huh.
it's easier to practice. You can find on the internet as many IOI grade tasks as you wish. You can solve them and you
Hmm.
can see the results immediately. While for IMO, you really need a coach who would collect the proper selection of tasks for you and who would evaluate those tasks the same way as IMO grading commission does that. So I think IOI is easier to approach if you live in some smaller town, because everything is
That's
available on the internet. It's just your decision to enroll in it.
and that's a
I have
very,
something
very
to
interesting and a news. Sorry, yeah, please, Kshitij, yeah,
Oh
ask
yeah,
each
you
other
can go
questions.
ahead.
No, 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 no,
You
no, no,
can go.
please, please.
Okay. So I want to add something that in math, I think anyone can really register for it. And I feel informatics it's a bit also more self-selective because you would probably like people participating already know programming and are also probably very good at math, I would say. So
Yeah,
that's like one reason why it's more popular, I guess. And I feel like a lot of
true.
the math Olympiad people I know also do comparative programming. So maybe it's like popular among like the
Mm,
people who qualify for the Indian training camp. Like a
mm,
lot of them
mm.
do informatics as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think that it's more accessible in the beginning because it's just like a
yeah.
pen and paper math test.
Mm,
Especially since the first stage is more like the some of the questions can be solved using basic math and logic. I
yeah.
mean that's
Now,
also
also,
true in
Kshitij,
IOI.
yeah.
In like
You know,
ZIU is like
also,
pen and
Kshitij,
paper
Kshitij,
test.
the reason is also one is accessibility for sure, and obviously more parents know about math than they know about an informatics Olympiads. Awareness is also an issue. But the thing that gives me a lot of hope, and I'm surprised that I'm getting to have this realization after so many years of being in competitive programming, which Sergey told, that IOI has better chances of getting more popular because of the whole tooling around it, right? So you can solve a hard problem and you can get the feedback immediately rather than solving a hard math problem and getting that feedback. You will need somebody that good, a math teacher or a coach. I think that makes gives me a lot of hope that IOI spread can happen. It may not immediately like boost up, but yeah, that's a
Yeah, I
very interesting
definitely
insight
think
for
that
me.
comparative programming has way more competitions. You can just take part in them online. Whereas in Math Olympiad, it's
Yeah,
like generally you just solve problems at home on like paper.
true,
And then I guess you can
true.
like check online solutions to what other people have done. So yeah, definitely I think comparative programming, that part is good that there are so many live contests. In math, I feel there like the number of live contests is lower, definitely much
Yeah,
lower.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm done with
Interesting.
it. Sorry, I have a lot. I can ask a lot more things, but I have already overshot time by 18 minutes. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So you
there's a
take.
flight back to India, but we promised three bonus questions with the giveaway. So here's the last question, Sergey. I'll open it to everyone. Let's see. I think Sergey might know the answer to this. Maybe you can put it in the private chat, but I'll just put it. So which of these the three is the oldest CP platform? Among these three, which is the oldest CP platform? First one is CodeChef, second is Podge, and third is Codeforces. In the comments, we have 10 seconds. Let's see who
I
answers.
know the answer. I know the answer. Should I? Everyone knows.
Maybe after 10 seconds, we can answer. Yeah, let's see. I'm fascinated
Oh,
why are people asking on AI? Why are so many people giving the right answer? I just wonder what's happening. Okay, interesting. Good to see some
yeah.
wrong answer. Yeah, okay, nice. So,
I don't know a
Anup,
lot of people know or not, but CodeChef was using Spoj in the backend for a long time, for a long, long time. Yeah, it used to be there when I was in college, and we used to solve problems on Spoj. Spoj is that old. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's to that extent where I remember I was on a call with a really cool professor that I personally love from an old IIT, and Adrian and I went on the Adrian is one of the co-founders of Spoj and also co-founder of Pathway. We went on a call and he said that he loved a Spoj during his early years, which was very fascinating. And okay, like Adrian
Oh
is,
wow,
yeah, I mean
I
that
didn't
was
know
really
that.
yeah, yeah. I had no clue that that could happen. Sergey, at your time, did you use or Spoj, or like you were more of a code forces person all the time?
I used lots of Spoj in the early years. I did competitive programming, and I was like top
Hmm.
15, I guess, in Spoj at some point in the problem set. And after I used another problem set, which is ACM SGURU, which no longer exists, but it's available on Codeforces. and I used those two. And I used Codeforces for regular competitions.
I want to add something to this. I feel this question was
Yeah.
also a bit easy to answer because if you look at the website, Spot's website definitely feels much older than CodeChef or CodeForces. Like I
Yeah.
have an account on Spot with like only a few problems solved, but like I have a lot of problems solved on like CodeForces and CodeChef.
Yeah,
That's
you're
how I
right.
guess the answer is.
That's also because Podge actually stopped focusing on the problem solving and contest part. They moved into the B2B business with their Sphere Online Judge, the Sphere engine that they have. So they're not actively maintaining the Podge website for programming competitions. Yeah, problem solving.
Okay. By the way, with that, we are towards the end of the session. I'll thank everyone who joined in, and definitely I must thank Sergey and Kshitij, who were the
Yeah,
guests of the show. Kshitij for joining in the morning. He's traveling to India today. He mentioned,
yeah.
and honestly, given how much I know Anup and how much I know myself, I'd be really scared to take a session in the morning. So thank you, Kshitij, for joining at this point in time, and thanks a lot, Sergey. I hope you both enjoyed connecting with the ICPC community in India.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, it was
And I want to
really
Um,
good
thank
being here.
Yeah, I also want to thank Mudit for giving me this opportunity where I can talk to both of you. Thank you.
Thanks for connecting me back to the Indian CP community after years. I'm dropping the email ID where the winners for this one. I think the winner would be the last question was around the oldest platform, right? It is Akhil and Vikash. So all the folks have won. They can email us at bootcamp@pathway.com. Via bootcamp, so Pathway also conducts a generative AI bootcamp in collaboration with academic institutions. We've done it with a bunch of US universities, European universities, of course, and in India with most old IITs. So that's the email ID for. But for your purpose of winning the prize, you can email on this one, and we'll be happy to coordinate further over um, over email. There is a contention here, but yeah, okay. I mean, we'll be happy to have a look. But thanks a lot. Thank you everyone, and have a great evening ahead. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
But
Hi.